Good afternoon. My name is Bill Fortner. I'm a fifth generation Wyoming, Campbell County, Wyoming native. My great-great-grandparents homesteaded here back in the late 1800s, 1890 era. But anyways, I ran as a House representative in 21 and 22. And then I took a little leave of absence because I ran for Senate in 22 and I did not get that seat. So 4 years later, Reuben Tarver, he is not running again for House District 52. So I'm ending up for that again. And the main reasons I am doing that is because we got a bunch of unconstitutional stuff coming on in Wyoming, in Campbell County. I am a constitutional conservative. I ran for a commissioner's position 2 years ago as a conservative. And the reason I have done that, and now I'm back as a Republican, but I am not a full-fledged Republican like I was back in 21 and 22 for the simple reason I got to see just exactly how the Republican Party was cutting out certain groups of people to promote an agenda. The Constitution does not allow that. So I have studied pretty extensively. I studied prior to being in the House, the Constitution. Once I was not in no more and I had more time on my hands in the wintertime, I studied extensively on the Constitution for the last 4 to 5 years. So I consider myself a constitutional originalist. And what that is it's the Constitution as it was originally wrote in the Declaration or the Bill of Rights as it was originally wrote in 1787. 1787, the framers put together the Constitution. A year later, they put together the Bill of Rights, and that's the foundation of the Constitution. The amendments, some of them went sideways. Well, all of them did because none of them was ever passed under a convention. But being an originalist, I look at the laws as the way they was wrote, and the way Thomas Jefferson explained it when he was summoned to a Supreme Court case in, I think it was 1804, and they tried to twist stuff around just similar to what they're doing today in the judicial system. They tried to put things there that wasn't there. The intent of the court system was to interpret the constitutional law the way it was written, not to interpret it the way they wanted to interpret it, or use precedents to interpret it in a way that they wanted to interpret it. So anyways, the quote that made Thomas Jefferson famous in that case he said, "On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted, recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, confirm to the probable one in which it was passed." So that got me to thinking more in the lines of what the definition was back in 1776 when the Declaration of Independence was passed, in 1787 when the Articles of Confederation went into effect, and then of course 1787 when the Constitution was passed. Let me back up there. The Declaration or Articles of Confederation was passed in 1776. Not 1787. 1770. The Declaration of Independence was 1776. 1 year later, it was 1777. The Articles of Confederation went into effect. All the states had their own independent constitutions and operated separately. In 1787, 10 years later, the Constitution was born. Okay, now we got that straight. So anyways, with that being said, I looked at everything. I looked at all of the definitions going back into those 3 different eras. And they're different than what we CMS today, and that's what Thomas Jefferson was talking about. He's talking about when they made the Constitution, they didn't make it to be a living Constitution that they could just throw. They could increase all three branches could increase their powers, so they could create whatever law they wanted to. That was what the Constitution was about. The only way you could amend the Constitution was with an Article 5 convention, and you can amend it anything you wanted to amend, but you had to have 3/4 of the states sign on. So that's where I'm at, and that's the rule of law I go by, and that's the only rule of law that any of us is supposed to go by. But in the past 239 years, they've invented this monster that the judicial system has, called an annotated Constitution. It's a little over 3,000 pages, and it goes back to history and past precedents on a lot of the rulings. But they have also stepped up the pace on creating laws without any amendments at all, or any review from the other two branches, the legislative branch or the executive branch. They took it upon themselves to be the creators of all law. And so what they do is they got a process called judicial review. And when they decide they want to pass a new organization, like anything that was not originally passed in 1787, they decided, well, they just pencil whip over 400 new offices or powers or whatever they want to call them, however they want to designate it. But they've created over 420 new agencies without an amendment, not one amendment. And they go back and they try to suck new meaning out of the old Constitution that gives them the power to do this, and that's just exactly what Thomas Jefferson was talking about. They cannot do that. It's illegal. And when the framers was putting in place the Constitution, they were sort of scared that they would try this, and they thought by having 3 independent branches that they could eliminate that from happening. But corruption, once corruption ever gets started, you can never stop it. So anyways, that's where we're at. We're at a corrupt America. We got a president right now that's gone above and beyond on executive orders. Executive orders actually started back in George Washington era. George Washington there's 9 executive orders made in George Washington's administration, and they've increased. Every president from that point to now has increased them. But the thing about executive orders is they are not constitutional. That the executive powers does not mean executive orders. What executive orders does is it cuts the other 2 branches of government out, and it makes the president a king. And that was exactly why we fought King George in the Revolutionary War for our independence. So anyways, we got him pulling executive orders. We got him pulling he's doing war powers that Congress laid out, which was totally illegal without any kind of a amendment. They give the president 60 days worth of executive war powers. A War Powers Act, which was drafted in 1973, so we can go to war and police the world anytime these guys get in there and break the bank on our backs. And then Congress also gave him the authority, which they have no authority to do in the Constitution. They give the president authority to power the tariffs, which he has no business doing. And it's just not this president, but it's been all presidents all the way back to George Washington that just pulled these same stunts. It's part of the process that got us into the Civil War and all foreign wars. There's never no mechanism in Article 1, Section 8 that allowed for us to fight a foreign war. The only thing that was allowed in there was us to go fight piracy with another country, but there was nothing in there about starting foreign wars. There's no way to finance a foreign war in our Constitution. But this has all been dreamed up and whipped up, and consequently, it's all come down from the federal government to the state governments. It's how corrupt it's been. And that's one of the biggest reasons I want to get back in Cheyenne. We got mechanisms in place that we should be selling our coal and ports all over the world. We should have we got access. We have access. It's given to us. Supreme law of the land by the framers of the United States Constitution since 1787. We've had access to the ports, and we refuse to use them. And the people we have in office, they just act like they're dumbfounded because we can't use them. Well, they say we can't use them. Well, they never push the issue at all. And so that's one of the things I really want to get into and talking about. But anyways, I got a whole list of stuff here. Constitutional, 99% of it. We're going to have to repeal some stuff. We're going to have to make some new laws in Wyoming to hold our legislators accountable and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go down the list of things that I want to accomplish if I get back into Cheyenne down there. Things that I want to hold people's feet to the fire, to the Constitution, the United States Constitution. I don't want to go down there and just be a good old boy and be conservative, because conservative don't mean nothing if you're not preserving power. If you're conservative to take somebody's rights away, well, that's illegal, and that's not conservative. Conservative is being within the Constitution, fighting to keep your freedom. That means smaller government, less taxes, and living with the wage you make, which makes you prosperous. That you prosper and you get to enjoy the money you've made instead of passing it on to rich groups, rich corporations, which is redistribution of wealth. So anyhow, we're going to go over 12 points here, things that I want to tackle. When I was in Cheyenne, the 21 and 22, I was no stranger to standing on the floor and voicing my opinion and pointing orders against new fees and new rates that come out after the COVID. By the way, people still looking for a reset for our nation. Well, that happened during the COVID. The COVID was the reset. If you don't believe me, you just look at what you could buy prior to COVID and versus what you can buy right now, and that dollar is just almost went to nothing. Actually, our dollar over the last 100 years is just about worth 3 cents. So anyways, we're going to go through this list of 12 things. We're going to get into some of it a little bit deeper than normal, but it's for a reason, because Wyoming is no stranger to corruption than Washington, D.C. So anyhow, we're going to start with the oath of office. You know, the oath of office is a legal binding oath. And the framers of the United States Constitution, they never did anything with putting a penalty clause on that, because they left that up to the states. And we don't have to do a Article 5 Convention of States to amend the Constitution, because they never did anything to force us to do that. So we can do that as a state. And that's going to be my first goal, because that's going to kick the door open for everything else that goes on in Cheyenne and Wyoming in there. And I don't want to get in there this time for just 2 years. I'd like to stay for 12 years. I got 12 points. I figure if it's going to take it maybe a year per point to get stuff to going, and then once I'm out of there, then hopefully my kids, your kids, our grandkids, and every generation after that will stay in Wyoming and work in Wyoming with the stuff that I helped promote and helped put in place because of the great Constitution. And this is our 250 years of independence, by the way. So I mean, we need to really camp on our freedom, and every avenue of that so far, even in the 250th year of our independence, it's not an independence of freedom. That's our birthday, 250 years ago. 1776 was the birth of the nation. That's not our independence. We lost that a long time ago. We lost our independence. We become slaves of government at every level. And we got people now in America, I see this morning, we got 70% of our population is have to use credit cards to buy groceries. So that right there says a lot for America. I mean, you know, you say, well, you know what, America's still the best place. It don't have to still be the best place out, you know, in the sewer. Floaters are in the sewer, but I mean, so I mean, you know, if you want to look at that, like, well, you know what, America's still the best place. Right now, the world's a sewer, and we're engulfed in every part of that sewer. We've made ourselves police of the world, and we're starting wars that we have no business starting, and they're promoting all this stuff through like the national draft and things like that to feed the beast. But so as you look at 250 years of independence, don't look at it as 250 years of freedom. Look at it as the 250th year that America was born, because there's a heck of a difference there. Freedom is when you can exercise every right you had underneath the Constitution, the original Constitution, and prosper. That's freedom. When you're underneath an annotated Constitution over 3,000 pages, that is not freedom. That is not prosper. That is working for the man. That's working for the government. You're a government slave. And our kids is headed for a dead-end road. Our monetary system is pretty near broke. Like I say, it's our depreciation of our money is 97%. We only got 3 cents to the dollar that actually it has any purchasing power whatsoever. So, anyways, this is the stuff I want to go over. But first one of it is going to be we're going to establish a for violation of oath of office. We're going to establish a removal process of all elected officials that take the oath of office. Every one of them. It don't make no difference if it's in D.C. Or House and Senate reps in D.C. That's voted in Wyoming, or if it's the city council that's voted in down here in Gillette. County commissioners as well. Once we can get a handle on removing these guys for violating their oath and not living up to what they promised that they was going to do, then that's going to get the ball to rolling a little bit faster. Anyways, then we'll move from that. For number 2 on my list is repeal all executive orders, because like I explained before, they are not constitutional. They're not within the Constitution. You make a president a king. You make a governor a king when he cuts out your House and your Senate. So we're gonna repeal those immediately. We're gonna go after that process. We got the governor. He's done executive orders on some of these data centers and things like that. So he didn't have to do the necessary steps it takes to do your environmental impact studies. He's cut a bunch of that out. He's cut that out for the cities and the counties because they have these parks that they're putting them in, and so but he's doing that because the president has ordered him to do that, and so he thinks that's okay. Well, we the people in Wyoming, we don't think that's okay, and we didn't order him to do that. So we need to be able to remove him for that when he violates his oath of office. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate the governor. We're going to eliminate anybody that's taken that oath of office. But anyways, we'll go on to number 3. And this is the thing that was gave to us, and I talked about it a little bit in our opening here, is the coal port use. When I was down there, we gave the governor, I can't remember, but I'm thinking it was $1 million we put in an account so we could go to court against Washington State and use their ports. Well, when I was down there, I knew the Constitution, but I didn't know it as good as what I should have known it. And it's the same with all elected officials in Cheyenne. They all like to camp on the Constitution, but most of them don't know smoke about it. So anyways, we don't have to pay a penny to get a lawyer to go sue Washington State so we can use their ports. That's already been done. All we should have to do is an environmental impact study on the area we want to set up our facilities to ship coal. And once that's done, we start shipping coal. I get so tired of hearing about, well, Bill, we got to do this nuclear. You know, we got to do this nuclear because it's a new thing. You know, and then they say we got to do it because if we don't, because when Wyoming runs dry, we're gonna go bust. We're gonna just dry up and blow away. Coal's going backwards. Nothing's working out for us. But that's only self-infliction because we've allowed that to happen. We bought into that. But they've been setting us this nuclear deal up for a long time, and these data centers. But anyways, we get our coal ports open back up where we rightfully have that use. We ship coal all around the world, high-grade coal. Everybody wants it, and we become independent for the next 150 years. And on top of that, we need to be looking at coal gasification, Frinsu gas, and 5 other different products that makes. It's a tremendous bang for the buck. And just because we had a party come out of Australia that was ran out of Australia for being bad operators to come to Wyoming and set up on a coal gasification and failed it so bad that they ran them out and they never wanted anything to do with it again, is the biggest colossal failure in history. We got North Dakota up there, has been doing gasification successfully, and we just go there and we find somebody that knows the successes of it and how to set it up and do it right. We could be burning that coal for 150 years or 200 years because it's not feasible to mine. So I mean, we are our own worst enemy by letting government dictate to us what the hell they're going to do and how they're going to do it, instead of us saying, no, this is how we're going to do it and this is what we want to do. And then these guys that sitting there running their own agenda, hiding behind the doors and making secret deals and prospering ahead of us and taking our money to put bigger players in. The bigger players, you give $100 million to BTWX of our money, but you don't give us nothing back in return. Well, you might get some jobs, you know. Well, that never pans out for us. You never cut our taxes. So this all has a vicious circle. But what I want to do is stuff that's going to prop Wyoming up for not my great-great-grandchildren, but every generation after this, because we got mega wealth here, and natural gas, coal, oil. We got mega wealth in Wyoming. So we don't need stuff that's going to pollute our water like uranium mining, in situ mining for uranium that pollutes our freshwater aquifers. We don't need other industries coming in that's going to use up data centers that's going to use up between 330,000 gallons of water or 5 million gallons of water a day. We don't need those kind of industries because Wyoming don't have that kind of water. We're already going to get dewatered from the surface down all the way down to New Mexico and Arizona. That's already happened. It's going to happen. Just wait for some president, if it ain't Trump or the next one, to do an executive order to strip every irrigator of the surface water so they can send it down to the ocean in Mexico. Just wait for that to happen because it's coming. And then on the other side of that, our groundwater, our huge aquifers like the Ogallala and the Madison and some of those that run between 7 and 11 states. Look for those to be polluted by these industries that's shooting for uranium. That's the big thing, you know. The way they address pollution in the state of Wyoming is with dilution. If you've got pollution, then you just dilute it, and that makes everything A-okay in Wyoming until you go run out of dilution, and then it's like, oh hell, what are we going to do? Well, and that's another thing. We don't have no accountability in Wyoming to draw the governor in. So we're going to have to have some bipartisan committees to take over some of his power, and I mean almost all of it. We need to be bipartisan committees need to be over the EQC, the DEQ, Almost every office that our governor has underneath him, we need to have more supervision over him and over them departments to override him and say, no, this ain't going to happen in Wyoming. You're not going to bust a bubble here to create a bubble over there to fatten yourself or fatten some corporation. That ain't going to happen. So we got a lot of work to do, and this runs all the way back to 1890. We've let everything spiral way out of control. But so, anyways, with that all being said, let's just continue on to 3 here. So we covered coal ports, we covered coal gasification, so that takes us down to 5. Let's repeal all qualified immunity, because qualified immunity was set in place by the courts. It wasn't set in place by the Constitution. The 11th Amendment of the United States Constitution put sovereign immunity in. And sovereign immunity is, it basically gives the states the right to have immunity, but not the state employees. Sovereign immunity protects the bank of the state. So to keep one state from suing another state, or a person in that state from suing the state and breaking the state. That's basically what sovereign immunity does. Qualified immunity is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. They have no accountability. They can do whatever they want, and they reserve the power not to ever have to be sued, not to ever have to go to civil court, not to ever have to go to a state court. They reserve that power not to ever have to show up in any courtroom. So we're going to have to repeal that power, and we can, as a state, we can repeal that. There's no problem there. We have to take that power back from the law enforcement, fire department, whoever comes in and tears your house down to put electric fire out. Let's say a little electric heating unit. They kick the roof in and flood your house. They got to be accountable for that. So, anyways. So now we move on there to data theft, and there again, and that's just not AI data theft. That's data theft that's happening at the state level. That's data theft that's happening in your hospitals. That's data theft that's happening at the highway patrol level, monitoring your truck from everywhere you go. That's data theft happening from your law enforcement, your sheriff, your police departments. That's data theft happening from Google. Anybody that's taking data without your consent, that violates your Fourth Amendment right. And basically, your Fourth Amendment, what it does is it protects you from illegal search and seizure. It protects you from having to open your door up in your car or wherever you're at in your house to law enforcement without a warrant. If they don't have a warrant, Fourth Amendment protects you, but they do not want to tell you that, and they try to override that with that they have all the power. But technically, the Fourth Amendment protects you from all intrusion of any government unless they have a warrant. If they don't have a warrant, they have no business being at your door. They have no business being at your property. And that's another subject we're going to talk about here in a little bit, is property, private property, owning your own property. But anyways, so anytime you got data centers, like I say, law enforcement, any government entity got your data, that's infringement of your Fourth Amendment right, due process, and we're going to eliminate that. We're going to get that taken care of. We're going to bring that to light. We're going to raise the roof down there on that. We're going to get that taken care of. Because what they do with that data is they track you. They come into your house. They track you where you work. They track you what you're doing, where you're going, where you're coming from, and that's something you would expect to see in a communist country. Matter of fact, there was one news agency that is doing an article in Russia And all they could talk about was all the cameras being watched all the time. Well, I think it's just about the same in America right now. But they want to always lift America up like they're a little bit better than Russia. But I don't think so. I think right now we're at a competing edge between Russia and China and America on who can gather the most data, steal the most data, not gather it. Let's just be honest about it. It's theft, pure theft. And they take that theft and they sell it for money around the world. So your data is going to end up in Hong Kong or Taiwan or whoever wants to pay money for it. It's nothing but government theft, period. And we got to get rid of that. And we need to, and anybody that's involved in that, we need to kick their butts out of government, and we need to prosecute them. They need to go to jail just like any criminal for stealing anything. But so anyhow, get that off my chest. But so anyways, then we'll go on down here to number 7, number 7. And that's forensic audits. There's never been a forensic audit ever done in the state of Wyoming. Not one. Well, why is that? And I'll tell you why that is. I'll answer my own question. The reason that we have never done a forensic audit in the state of Wyoming is because government wants to control how they discipline themselves. If you own the diamond store and the diamond store gets robbed and you rob your own diamond store, you don't want somebody to see that you robbed your own diamond store. You don't want nobody to even know your diamond store has been robbed. But so here's the thing. If we got forensic audits, we know exactly how much government is hiding, and they're hiding a lot of it in Cheyenne. They call them can accounts. They're hiding a lot of it, and they're always claiming like they need more taxes. So if they can always make that claim without an audit, and they use that for justification for overtaxation. Well, what's overtaxation? Overtaxation is any time government has an excess that they can invest in savings and investment accounts. Ooh, what's a saving and investment account? We're talking stock market, people. We're talking government in the stock market. By the way, it's illegal too. That was an illegal gesture they added back in what the heck was it? 1903, I think. The stock market and the Fed. But anyhow, so here we got corruption, build on corruption, on more corruption, more corruption. We got a pyramid of corruption, and it's right here in Wyoming, right in Cheyenne. It's right in local government, the city and the county. Oh, we got to have a 1% tax. We just got to have that 1% tax. But here's the thing: they don't want to tell you how much that 1% tax has created since 1973 when it was originated. They don't want to tell you that. Matter of fact, they want to do away with the records. They want to do away with Article 4 in Wyoming, and they have. They've cut their Transparency Act down to 2 years. Article 4 doesn't give any time limit on transparency, and it doesn't give a limit on who can ask for records in Wyoming, who can ask for records in Wyoming. You can ask for records any state in the United States under Article 4. But they've circumvented that in Wyoming. Another huge act of corruption. If you don't have to produce the records, guess what? They're policing themselves, and it's all corrupt. That's just the way it works. So anyhow, we're going to really push hard on forensic audits, and then when we get that done, we're going to hit the data centers. We're going to hit the uranium or the nuclear outfits. We're going to hit them all on their data. We're going to do forensic audits on the water uses and the disposals that they're doing. And they'll say, well, you know what, we can't do that because we got trade secrets. We can't tell you how much water we're using because we got trade secrets. If they got a trade secret on the critical resources that we use as citizens, then guess what? They don't have that constitutional right. They don't need to be in Wyoming. If they can't ante up and show us exactly what they're doing, and they can't dance to our bells or our tunes, then we need to excommunicate them out of Wyoming. And I don't care if they're worth $100 billion or $1 trillion if it's Elon Musk. I don't care. We're gonna set stuff up so we can audit these data centers, and we also need to be able to audit the LLC branch of government that we have here in Wyoming. There's these guys is all under the idea or the concept that just because they come to Wyoming, we can't do nothing with them. Well, I'll give you a real good scenario on that. If a whorehouse moved across the line or from Nevada to Wyoming, cross country, would we do something about that? Darn right we would. We'd be raising all kinds of cane. We'd find all kinds of ways to go after them. But there's this big industry, lots of money, billionaires here and there, and world leaders everywhere using our systems in Wyoming. We don't know who's using the LLC. We don't know if it's Russia, China, terrorist groups, because you know what? That's data we just can't get into. Well, you know what? That is BS. We go into all of that, and we'll do 100% forensic audit on every bit of it. We'll know who every player is in Wyoming, how much money they're spending in Wyoming, if they're using any of Wyoming's resources, and what kind of harm it might be causing the citizens of Wyoming. That's just responsible transparency and honesty. I mean, you gotta be able to have a government that's going to be transparent and accountable for what they are doing. Because if they're not transparent and accountable for what they are doing, you just won't have a dog in there. You just will have German Shepherds sitting over there in the corner or something, because with idiot signs on their head, because that's what we have. But we are the dog with the idiot sign on our head, because we allow them to be in an office. We keep putting them in office. We need to take them out of office, and we need to make them either be accountable and transparent or hit the road. So anyhow, that's what the forensic audits will do. That was the concept behind that, getting it up and more transparent. One of the other things that having forensic audits will do, it will show everybody that the state has more taxes and backdoor taxes and hidden taxes than you could ever imagine. And it'll throw a red flag out there that there is no need for property taxes. Your property taxes are no more needed than the man in the moon. The only reason the government wants property taxes is so they can control you. If the government doesn't have property tax, you own your property, which is, you should own it anyways. I mean, when you buy it, you should pay taxes on it at the time you buy it, and it's yours. But the thing of it is, as long as government can have their hooks into you and be a co-owner, actually they are the owner, you're just the co-owner. They are the owner. And with that process, they are able to come onto your place, harass you, put laws on you, put you in jail, take your property, sell it to somebody else, and everything's just great. So we got to take property, we got to take personal property and real property, and we got to make those totally exempt. Those need to go away, and that's one of the first things that needs to happen. We need to start reining in the money, because money's control. If you take money away from a government, that shrinks them real fast. And in Wyoming, we've got as much or more government per capita as any state in the nation. So we can afford to start cutting employees back, start cutting services, start cutting government ownership. They don't need to own airports and hospitals, and that all needs to go back to private ownership. And we need to cut our tax base. Our cost of living is too high. We're strapped on about every angle now after COVID. Everything's gone through the roof. You can't hardly make ends meet. So we need to cut government, and we need to cut until we cut our way out of this. Well, you can't cut the way out. Well, we can, and we'll have to. We're going to. So anyways, with that all happening, I got I think I covered about everything there. No, I got two more. We got number 10. And we got right now gun laws. We got other laws on the book that cut felons, registered felons, completely out. They don't mind taxing these felons, That's called taxation without representation. That was, I think, the fourth reason that the colonists petitioned King George was on taxation without representation before we went to the Revolutionary War. That's how serious taxation without representation is. But they got these felons living in Wyoming, and if you try to find out what the number is, the state's real particular about that. They will not share that number with you, how many felons they got cut out in Wyoming. So they know they're doing wrong. That's the biggest part of it, is the state of Wyoming knows they are violating people's constitutional right, because when you get out of prison, you're a free citizen. You reserve the right to have a gun, you reserve the right to vote, you reserve the right, every right that a preacher down on the corner in a Presbyterian church has, that felon has exactly the same rights. I don't care who he is or what he done. If he's been reincarnated, he has the right to shoot a gun, he has the right to drive a vehicle, he has the right to be a barber. And by the way, in the state of Wyoming, you cannot be a barber if you're a felon. Well, why is that? Because the state has too much control. That tells me what we need to do is we need to rein in permits and licenses. If they're going to use permits and licenses to micromanage everybody, and that's what they're doing, we need to get rid of the permits and licenses. We need to dial all them back. Maybe you might want to have a license for a doctor, but not for somebody that's cutting hair or dog groomer, that kind of stuff. It's fishing, hunting. That's all BS. Just cut everything back, give back people their freedoms, and then start letting people start voting. Let's start the process over and start a vote. Do we want to have a duck stamp in the state of Wyoming? Let's let the people vote on that. Not a bipartisan, or not a House group down there, right after COVID. By the way, that's what happened when I was down there. I was the number one conservative voter in 21 and 22 freshman legislators in Cheyenne, the House and Senate. And the reason I was is because all the other conservatives that went down there with me from Campbell County, they all voted for the taxes and the rate fees and the rates and the fees increases, which is basically taxes. And it's like, no, you don't do that. That's not what you do. You don't prop up the state or its employees on all these different rates and fees during hard times, because that's going to follow them right into retirement. When I was a coal mining, and we did good, you got a bonus. That was appreciation for job well done, then and there. You never got a raise for every little thing you did, because corporate knew that raise would follow you all the way up to the time you died in your retirement. That's how that worked. So anyhow, we didn't do that, and I tried to run the same game when I was in China. I got up and spoke on that many times on the floor, how things worked in the corporate world, and they thumbed their nose, our conservatives out of Campbell County, and they voted for higher fees and higher rates, which is taxes. So pay attention to who you're putting in. Really pay attention this time around, because this is it's just coming to a head. I'm not going to say it's going to be right here real quick, but within 10 years, you're going to see a more drastic turnaround than what we've had in the last 20 here in Campbell County. It's all about who you put in office and how they perform for you. If you put somebody in there that says they're going to do something, they don't perform, and you know what? You need to vote them right back out. You still have the power of the vote, even though that there's millions of dollars and super PACs coming into Wyoming right now, protecting these bad actors. And there's bad actors on both sides. Whether they say they're conservative or not, there's bad actors on both sides, and I've seen it all down there. Right after COVID, I ran a bill to make sure that people got to be with their loved ones right up to the time of death, and I got fought back down there and got it through the House and the Senate, and got up on the floor in committees and fought my butt off on that. And then we had one senator, he thought he just had the power to pigeonhole it and sit on it and kill the bill. So anyhow, the next time around, Senator Troy McEwen picked it up and ran with it and finally got it passed. But There's a lot of political maneuvers, a lot of political stuff, and there's a lot of power from the surrounding states that's running the state of Wyoming, like in your Medicare and Medicaid, your hospitalization. That's all pushed at a federal level. And they want you to commit about doing something about that when you get to Cheyenne. But that's something that the federal government started illegally, without an amendment. Put it in place in the '60s, I believe it was, and they ran it into the ground. They got into every hospital and care facility in America. The federal government has, and they tell the hospitals and the retirement homes how they're going to do it, and the process they got to use, and what it takes for them to comply. And if they don't, they're going to cut them off of this grant money, which basically is federal government's biggest ploy is to offer grants to these states to make them think that they're going to give them something, but they all come with strings. And that's another thing that we got to really be guarding against down there. We got to have transparency on it. We got to have transparency. We got to have a bipartisan committee that we can trust in Cheyenne. Just because we got a bipartisan committee in Cheyenne don't mean we can trust them. We got to be able to trust this bipartisan committee on everyone we put in place. Because if we don't, they'll be just as corrupt, and they're going to have to be audited too, as all the rest of them. But right now, we're looking at a care facility crisis in America. And not only a care facility crisis, but we're looking at a crisis in the price that they're charging that we can't afford. And that's been all created by the federal government. So they want you to commit as a House or Senate representative in Cheyenne that you're going to go down there and you're going to wave a magic wand and you're going to fix it all. We're going to do cross-border partnerships or whatever. We are not, because what happened is our money is toast, and it takes what costed $100 prior to COVID is now $300. It's that bad. In some places it's 300% higher. So I mean, for anybody to think that they're going to tell you that they're going to go down here and fix something that the federal government has totally screwed into the ground, is sorry to say it, but Social Security is one of them. I don't think it's going to be sustainable very long either. But what they're wanting you to do, these organizations, these groups that's sending out these polls, is they're wanting you to commit to saying, yeah, you know what, we'll raise taxes to make everything better in Wyoming. Well, there's no more room for raising taxes. Them days is done. From here on out, it's not going to be called a tax. It's going to be called a theft, because they're just going to take it from you. They're not going to say, well, we want you to pay this 1% tax. It's not a donation to tax anymore. It's a take. Well, if you don't give it to us, we're going to take this from you. We're going to take that from you. It's almost like blackmail. What the government has done at every level is blackmail the citizens of America. So we need to take it back. You need to make a smart vote. You need to check people out, check out who they really are. I can tell you for a fact, I've been running hard against taxes for about 15 years. I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and unlimited time on fighting taxes and fighting government, rolling it back. So I'm no stranger to that game. Other people's going to claim that they've done it too, but they haven't. They've been right in on the theft. So, but anyways, my name is Bill Fortner. I was in House District 52 in 21-22. I would like to go back. I'd like to go back to put the guards up and put the Constitution to work for us in place in Cheyenne as the House District Legislature 52. This year in 26. I got a website out there. It's called billfortner.net. It's got more about what I've done for occupation. I worked in the oil and gas for almost 47 years. Between my brothers and my dad, we've got close to 100 years in as a family in the fossil fuels. So there's a lot more information in there. you know, I'm not throwing a bunch of this stuff just out of the dark, because I know a lot about it. I was a rancher for about 25 years, 20 years. I spent most of it during the coal mine era. I did some when I was in the oil field, but I had to finally get out of it. But anyways, my name's Bill Fortner. I'd love your vote. I'd love to serve you in Cheyenne, like I say. If I can get in this go around, if I can get back in the House, and I'd like to stay there for 12 years. I got 12 points here I really want to tackle. I figure, you know, if we work hard, I get one done a year. Maybe I get lucky and get two done. But anyways, I'm looking at least 12 years. So appreciate your vote. Appreciate listening. Hope you gathered some information about me, what my concerns are, and what I want to do. Thank you very much.